I want external systems to call into Salesforce and come and get data. So this is everything so far we've discussed is Salesforce initiated. So I want to go, actually, I'm going to use the Bceptor lane, but I'm going to use Workbench. So Workbench is just a developer tool to help us test these scenarios out. But it normally would be, as I just showed you, a button that we click in another system that calls Salesforce. So I want you to go and get a contact from within Salesforce. Let me just grab a box. I want you to go and get a contact. Sorry, it's going to bother me. So go get the contact from Salesforce and then bring that data back to me so that we've got an API service that goes off to the contact object in Salesforce. So that will go and do the get. That will pass the data back into our API, and then the API would then pass the data back to our calling system. This is going to do a get, and this is going to be the response going back. So just the opposite again. So with the demo, I'm going to show you is I'm not going to authenticate, but we've spoken about this earlier. The name credential, the external app that would normally be set up for that account, they will authenticate and then be provided with access into the platform. Let's see if I need to log in. Great. So we will send you this URL for Workbench. So once you get to this URL, you can select the production instance because that's your developer box. Click the login to Salesforce. It will then ask you to authenticate. Sometimes it doesn't because I'm already authenticated. There's already a cookie in the browser. But you can just hover over that link at the top and make sure you're connected to the right Salesforce instance. Within this, you're going to go to the Utilities tab and then the REST Explorer. So again, that's going to do the API calls for us. The nice part of this is I don't have to authenticate every time. So just as a developer tool, this is what it's going to help me. So back into Salesforce. So remember, the requirement is external system calls Salesforce, gets data, get data back. So from within our publisher, we've got a few options here. So if you click on inbound, outbound, named credentials, custom permissions, this is basically where you're going to navigate that from, and you'll see that in the other documentation. But we're going to use the inbound flows or the inbound APIs. We can also use click outbound here, and it will list everything that we've done outbound, so that other APIs that we built to push the data out. But within the outbound window, you can use the wizard, the new configuration wizard, and in here, we can create our API. So give it a name, give it a category. So categories are useful, invoices, customers, or whatever you want to use for that. It just helps for filtering and reporting. Provide a decent description. I know within my demos, I just normally put in something to explain, but we do use this for documentation. So all that documentation we've spoken about earlier, we also have a module that will take actually all of this and then export that into a meaningful document. Because you would hate to for somebody, remember I said a consultant leaves a legacy behind, to pick up your work and not understand what it's about. So we have the API service that we're going to configure, the API endpoint. So remember the analogy of the house, the address. So here we can go and configure anything we want. You can go and type it to your heart's content, whatever that should be. Best practice is lower cases, not capitals like me. And then what we also do is within this is you'll see, I use an example of a curly bracket 0 or curly bracket 1. And that is what we call wildcards. So a wildcard is, imagine you want to reuse a street address. So you have number, house number, the street name, the postal code, the what have you, city. Those all are constants, but only the house number changes the whole time. So if you have to go write an API or develop an API for each house, you're going to have a lot of duplication. So a wildcard is there for you. This part of the address, I'm going to reuse. So the house number just becomes a curly bracket 0 or 1 or 2, whatever, how many wildcards you want. I hope that kind of makes sense. Then you can, at this API level, also apply security. So permissions, if you call this, in addition to being authenticated, you also need this permission. It's inbound, whether we're going to run Apex code or not. So for our lovely developers, but we are only going to focus on flow. So if you have a pre-configured flow, you can select it from the list, or you can just from here go and create one through the wizard. So that will go off and get the metadata and build that flow template up for you. Get those HTTP methods. So expose is only for post, put, patch, delete, or get, or leave it open to all. Activate when done. Configure. Click next in the wizard. It's going to give you a quick summary of what you're going to do. Submit, and that will deploy it into Salesforce. So that's all doing it all on the platform. Once that is done, your API then is ready to be called with your address that you've configured, and as well as the flow behind that too. So it would create an empty flow for you that you then can go and configure to your heart's content, right? So this is just a simple empty template. But for the demo, what we're going to do is we're going to use the one that I've configured, the contact one. This one only has get, post, put, patch, only get enabled, sorry. The other ones are disabled. So I'm going to do a post to that one just to show you what happens. And I'll just do an empty body. So because I'm calling the post to that address and I don't have the get enabled, it's going to come back and say, sorry, that method's not allowed. So that's basically the 405 error, and that you'll get, but we are interested in doing a get. So sometimes APIs can only have certain methods exposed. But looking at this API, I'm going to click through to that logic behind it. So one thing when I step in here, remember the curly bracket 0, similar to what I showed you earlier. So I'm going to come in. We have a decision to check what type of method you're calling from an external system. We're calling a get. Coming down the get arm, we're going to use this Blinks, method. That method just goes and says, from my request coming in, so in Blinks, we do have the request that's passed in. And in that request, we do have a few options for you that you can use. So in this one, I'm going to use the topic parameter list. So those curly brackets or anything actually within a URL one address is a topic. So I'm going to use the topic list. Give me the 0, so number 0. So if I had number 10, I could put number 10 in there. But give me number 0 and then assign it to this variable of mine. In here, I want you, then once you've got that, go and get me a contact where the mobile phone number equals this. Then I'm going to do a good developer does. Did I get a contact? Did I not get a contact? If I got a contact, then we're going to go down the line. The other side, if I haven't got a contact, I'm just going to say it was okay. You've got a success. Or we can go and say there's an error. Doesn't matter. But for now, we're just going to say it's okay, but no contact, so empty. But if we got a contact, we're going to do the same pattern again. So integration is pretty much repetition again. So we're going to convert that contact record. I'm going to transform that into a JSON structure. And then I'm not going to do transformation here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to write JSON into my response. So the response that I've got, I've added so many over here. So I'm going to go Supermoms. Thank you. That will write that into my response. And you could use anything from your Salesforce platform in here as well, like objects that or attributes of a contact or of a record within the platform. I'm going to save that through. And once I've saved that, I've got it activated. So here's a get out of jail free card. So one of the benefits using Flow is it's got built-in versioning. So if you do something wrong, just roll it back. There's always an undo button, so don't be scared. So I'll activate this, and with the changes that we've done. So there's the address I'm going to call with a phone number pre-configured. I'm going to do a get. That's going to call into my Salesforce system. It's going to grab that data back from the platform, and we've got our data configured, and we've got our Supermoms thank you at the top. So that's how we can configure inbound.